Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Well, the new beta for Linux Mint 20.2 is released, and so we want to go ahead and have a look at that. We're going to walk through some of the release notes, and we'll talk about some of the significant changes. I'm going to be looking specifically at Linux Mint Cinnamon. Some of these changes are universal. Some of these will only be applicable to Cinnamon, and I will try to differentiate these out. Now, this is going to be an LTS. It is going to be supported until 2025, which gives you about 4 years of support. And Linux Mint, if you are new to Linux, this is the distribution that I recommend most people go to, particularly Linux Mint Cinnamon. Obviously, there are people that like it. There are people that don't. Some people in the more elitist world of Linux will be like, it's just garbage. And it's not. It's actually very good. The reason I use it for production is because it works on a wide spectrum of software. It has a very familiar UI to most people using a desktop computer. And it does not break itself very frequently. Now, they've put in some things here that I'm not as keen on, but nothing in here is a deal breaker at all. Of course, you can head on over to their website, which is at linuxmint.com, and we're basically going to walk through this, but I'm going to show you what these look like when we actually boot into a system. This is available now for Cinnamon, XFCE, and Mate. All of these are available. And the last thing before we jump on over to the desktop is that the file sharing application Warpinator is officially available as a Flatpak. So any distribution you have that can support Flatpaks, you can use your Warpinator, but there is now an unofficial Android version. And I haven't seen anything bad about it. Nobody's come out and said, oh, this is horrible. And it is well known. In fact, the Linux Mint team itself linked this in their articles. And so this is a good thing to see, although it is unofficial. On Linux Mint's side, they actually only push you to Google Play. I don't like that they're kind of pushing you over to Google Play, but there is actually the Izzy on Droid, which I believe is affiliated with F-Droid. It's not officially on the F-Droid repository, but if I remember correctly, what people telling me is you can add the repository for this into F-Droid and get it as part of it, or you can just go ahead and click on this and download the APK and sideload it onto your Android device. So if you are wanting to share files between your Android device and your desktop computer, no matter if that's Linux Mint or anything else, you can go ahead and use the Warpinator unofficial app, which it is a very good port of the official source code. So there's no reason I would say to not use this, particularly when the Linux Mint team itself does specifically talk about it in their documentation. So with that, let's go ahead and boot up this new version of Linux Mint and see what it's going to look like. Okay, so here we are on the login screen, and there's nothing out of the ordinary here. Of course, you can pull this down. There's the default Cinnamon. Of course, Cinnamon does work only on X, and so Linux Mint right now is only going to be working on X. We're not going to see Wayland support. It's simply because the Linux Mint team just doesn't consider Wayland as mature enough yet to use, because of some stability and the fact that it will not work with some applications. That's perfectly fine. So I don't have an issue with that. In fact, I find that that Wayland is a little bit buggy in some places, and when it is strong and stable, then we will start to see it. Of course, in a virtual machine, we always get to check your drivers. That's perfectly fine. And then here is our screen. So far, you don't really notice any real changes. Just briefly, if you're new to Linux or Linux Mint, you can hit your first steps. You can choose your accent color and whether you want to go with light or dark. So you can go ahead and just change everything there like that. So however you want your system to look, that's just fine. You also have a more traditional panel layout where you're going to see all your tasks across the bottom, or you have the modern. Me personally, I like the modern overall look, but I don't like the functionality. So I actually use modern, and I actually just alter the panel layouts to produce a traditional like. I have a video about how to do that. We're not going to repeat it here. So I'm going to go ahead and keep it on modern. We have system snapshots. So this is going to, basically it's going to be like Windows Restore. It will keep your system from crashing down by having good backups of your system, but it does not carry with it your files. There's a separate backup tool for that. Driver Manager, where are we at? Driver Manager to check for any additional drivers you might need to install. If I were to run that, it might tell me that there's updates to run on the virtual box, but we're not going to bother with any of that. We're going to get into the Update Manager in a bit. Everything else here is fairly straightforward. And the very first major change in Linux Mint is going to be how the Update Manager works. And this is going to be applicable to Cinnamon, Mate, and XFCE. However, there is one new feature applicable to Cinnamon, and that is that these spices, which are applets, desklets, basically the extra plugins to utilize on a Cinnamon platform, those will now actually appear in the Update Manager. They are not updated with the same apt platform, but they are going to show themselves up. You can see over here the type. The shield is a security update. The up arrow is going to be a software update, and the desklets, applets, all those spices, they actually have the Cinnamon logo here, so you can see what it is. You can check it, you can uncheck it. There is also the option to automatically update those, which will just, as it says, it'll automatically update themselves and then quietly restart Cinnamon in the background. Now, the biggest thing that is changed here, which is a little bit more controversial, is that now instead of just seeing the little notification, you can see the shield with the dot down here in the corner, and that tells you that there is an update. For me, that's perfectly fine. That's actually what I like, but I guess some people are like, oh, I didn't know there was an update. And so they actually are going to start giving us pop-up notifications about needing updates. I don't particularly like that. Now, there's things you can do about that to prevent that from happening. But what they're doing now is if an update has been in here for greater than, by default, greater than 7 logged in days or 15 days old, it will give you another notification. When you do that, it's going to give you just 2 boxes. It's going to say view updates and enable automatic updates. There is no don't annoy me about this crap again. That is probably the part that I don't like the least. There is still something you can do about it, and that is coming up here into your Update Manager preferences. These are your defaults. Now, when you click when you just turn it off, just click the X, it's going to snooze for 2 days. But what you can do is you can change this up to 3 months' time. So in theory, you can just come in here, show a notification as an update has been available for, this is the number of logged in days. How many times has it been, how many days have you been logged into this update's available? Show a notification if it is older than, default is 15, you can change this to 90 days, so it will not bother you. And then don't show notifications if an update was applied in the last. Again, you can go up to 90 days or so. Like 3 months. I think 90 is probably default. Not sure if you can do 99 or not. Not sure. Let's go ahead and give it a try. That looks like it defaults to 90. All right. So in here, this is going to be if you've run any updates in your system at all, it will not bother you for this many days. So even if there's an update 2 days later and 7 days from now or 15 days from now, if this guy's pushed out, it's not going to give you any notifications until 90 days after the last update. If that's still too much for you, you actually have the ability to just turn off the Update Manager itself. That's always been in the startup notifications. So here's the Update Manager. Just toggle this guy off and it will not turn itself on automatically. In fact, I do this on my MX Linux writing computer because I don't want it to be checking for things because that system is on a very, very rigid update structure. So you can always just turn it off and then it won't show up until you manually go and enable it, and then you can do that. So they do have ways around it. It's not like horrible. It's just, hey, that's what they've given us as the options. And I think that overall that is a pretty good list. Here's any blacklisted applications, and here's your automation. So you can apply updates automatically. You can turn it on, you can turn it off. You can export the blacklist here so it will not automatically update anything on a blacklist. You can update spices automatically. You can update Flatpaks automatically, and you can remove obsolete kernels and dependencies automatically. You can see all of this automatic stuff is disabled by default. I did not disable any of these. These are disabled by default, so they give you the option to automate stuff, but by default, it does not have that. So, and I think that that is a really good approach. Some people want to update Flatpaks automatically. Some people don't. I know on my Arch computer, sometimes I have to manually go in and update the Flatpaks because, yeah, after a while, Discord stops working. and my Arch system does not update Flatpaks automatically. So I'll have to manually do that. But there you have it. Linux Mint does have that option. So that is what is new in the update manager. We're just going to go ahead and close that guy down. The next thing is there is a new file renamer app. This is a brand new one. Now this is applicable, I believe this is applicable in Mate and Cinnamon. Because I think XFCE already has this built in, so they left it out, if I remember correctly. I know it's in Cinnamon. It's not in one of the other two. So here you can just add different files to your bulk renamer, and then you can bulk rename files. You can search for different things, and that is a new application. So it's called bulk file renamer, or bulky is what they are calling it. We also have a new sticky note application. This is going to be a new application. Is that the right one? I think it is. I don't know. I have no idea exactly how to use this thing. There it is. Got to go ahead and click the new notes. And then you can just kind of drag these guys around and they'll be here. This would be useful if you want to do a daily list. And then it'll just be up here on your desktop. So if you just want to go ahead and do things like that. So they did have they did actually have one, but they replaced this one. This replaces G-Note application. And this is GDK3, supports high DPI, and integrates well with the desktop environment. And I believe it will also show up down here at the bottom as well. So here you can have a new note, you can manage notes, or you can quit the application down in the bottom. We've already mentioned briefly Warpinator. This is now becoming a more mature device. Here is where you can set to look for other systems on your network that have Warpinator, and you can also set the Android applications with the unofficial app, which is certainly a good thing. Now, the biggest real change here is we actually have Cinnamon 5. This is, I believe, the first time we saw Cinnamon 5 show up on the desktop. I've actually been using it on Arch for a little while because it was already ported back to there. So in this, there is a new search feature inside of this. So if you open up your files and you are searching, is it, no... Is it fine? There it is. So you can search for files or you can search for content. So there's a couple of different ways that you can search. So that is a new function inside there. And then just Control F to enable that. And it's probably up here in the menus somewhere as well if you look for it. I just don't exactly remember where. Yep, there it was. There it is. Search for files down there. It's under the Go menu. So you can go ahead and do that. And then another really cool feature that they've added, or at least improved greatly, is just to adjust for Cinnamon sometimes causing some issues. Under your preferences and general, they have a new memory limit here. So you can set Cinnamon's memory limit. By default, it would be 2 meg. I'm not sure if this is default to how much RAM is in your system or not, but you can go ahead and change this. And if Cinnamon is taking up too much memory, it's just going to go ahead and automatically reboot itself. And then it checks every, in this case, every 300 seconds. So every about 5 minutes or so, it checks, oh, Cinnamon's too high. It'll just reset itself, and that will go ahead and update everything. So that is, once again, another really good tool. And there are also some changes, I believe, in the applets as well. So if you pull up your applets, here is pretty much how it's looked in the past. There's better management, and that we already mentioned that they will update themselves. You can add them, you can create new ones, basically go in, grab your download, and everything in here was really designed to make things quite a bit better. Now there's a few other small things just reading from their site. They have the screensaver launches a new fallback window in a separate process done to ensure the input is grabbed and the session is hidden even if the screensaver happens to crash. So just a fix in case the screensaver crashes. Cinnamon 5 better detecting power state changes and reporting them. So notifications, battery, icon indicators, filtering devices. That's actually something that I've had issues with on my laptop in the past. It's just like it shows a full battery until it's about dead, and then all of a sudden your battery drops down. So I'll be very pleased to throw this new version on the laptop, and that computer is set to do an upgrade to itself very soon here. And then let's see, there's really nothing else in here that is, there's actually the sound. They actually have, if you're playing something, it will show the player status, album, and artist tooltips as well, depending on what you're doing. There's a few other little applications as well. And I guess the last thing we should do anytime we're talking about Linux Mint, let's go ahead and change our desktop backgrounds because they always give us some really nice, just some really nice wallpapers here. So let's go ahead and have a look at some of these guys. So always loved Linux Mint's wallpapers. Oh, look at that. I want to go there. This looks fun. So I'll go ahead and let you download Linux Mint to look at all of them, but they just have some of the most beautiful desktop backgrounds you can find. So with that, we'll go ahead and leave this one here for now. And so with this, there is my quick look at Linux Mint 20.2 beta. A lot of really good things in here. I'm really looking forward to putting this on my system. And since my main production system needs to be updated very, very soon, and this is an LTS, yeah, we're probably going to put this on it, even though it's still beta. Usually once the beta releases, they'll be out in a fairly short order after that. So we're going to go ahead and probably, I don't think I'm updating this computer now for about 2 or 3 more weeks, but once it is done, I will probably end up putting this on it. So I'll show you guys what I do when I'm done with that. So with that, guys, you can head on over to the linuxmint.com, grab the betas, XFCE, Mate, or Cinnamon. If you guys want me to have a look at the other 2, definitely let me know, and I will do a quick walk through those ones as well and talk about the changes that are specific to those systems if there are enough to do so. With that, thanks for watching, guys, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. Thank you for watching this video from Switched to Linux. This channel would not be possible without the backing of the program supporters scrolling on the screen now. You can be a supporter at Patreon at patreon.com/TOMM or at thinklifemedia.com. I also want to thank the open source community who creates such excellent software that makes producing this show possible. Please remember to support your software communities. Thank you, and I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux.